All right, welcome. This is a video going over how the balance creator in the Balanced by Daylight web app works. Um, I figured I would make a small tutorial video on this as the tool isn't immediately the most easy to use, but since we'll be shifting to an auto balance system soon where leagues will be responsible for updating the balancing on the leagues to ensure accuracy, um, a small video that's like dedicated chapter by chapter on this, I think is a useful resource for the community, and is going to help a lot of people. So I'm going to go step by step. I'll divide things by chapters in the actual the playback bar on YouTube. I'll split it into chapters, and we'll go over section by section on how this stuff works. So first, when you're on the main Balance by Daylight homepage, you'll see a check balance and a create balance. The balance checker is the normal tool that's used for like actually checking balance on characters and such like that. However, we won't be doing that right now. We'll be going over to create balance, which is where the balance creator is actually situated. So the page isn't it's not super stylized, but it is quite a powerful tool. This is how you create the profiles that the actual balance checker here uses to see like what is banned and what isn't, for what specific killers or anything like that. So we'll be using this, and what I'm going to show you here is exactly how you do this. So it's purely necessary just because of the fact that otherwise how will the program know what's banned and what isn't, and you need a way to specify these things in a very powerful manner, because a lot of competitive leagues for Dead by Daylight do not abide by the same rules or the same general I guess ideas, right, for how a competitive league should be balanced. So when making a creator tool like this, it has to be quite versatile and modular. So that's why there's a lot of options, and I know it can look a little daunting, but I'll go over step by step. So first thing you're going to see is two little things under base game balancing on the left column. So maximum perk repetition, this can go up to 4. This refers to the amount of perks of the same type, like the same perk that can exist on a team of survivors. So, for example, in competitive Dead by Daylight, traditionally this is only one, in the sense that you can only have one per perk per team. So treat it like 16 perk slots, and you can't equip duplicates. So like no two people can have like borrowed time, only one of them can have borrowed time, for example. But increasing this to 2 and to 3 and to 4 will change that. So if your league doesn't abide by the traditional 1, then that can be changed here, and the balance checker will reflect that. The second thing is global notes. So as the placeholder text here says, if there's any special global rules at all, e.g. like if you play this survivor, when playing survivor, you must have their adept perks, or something like that. Or I don't know, if you play Jonah, you must equip Blastamine or something like that. Anything like that, you throw in here, right? These are global notes meant to represent the entire league's balancing, and a special case or two that applies no matter what. And next up, probably the thing that you'll be using the most for this is the Perk Search info bar. So this is the Perk Search box, and by default, when you load into the page, it loads every survivor perk. It loads every survivor perk, and next time you click search, it'll go to every killer perk. So I'll show you the way this works. There's a checkbox that does is survivor perk. So when it's checked, it only brings up survivor perks. When it's unchecked, it brings up killer perks. So that's how you switch between the roles for adding that. So let's go for survivor perk. Inside of the search bar, you see perk name. So you can enter a perk name partially. It's not case sensitive. You can enter commas to enter multiple searches as well. So for example, let's search dead. I can hit enter to search instead of hitting search here. So you can do both this, or you can hit the enter key on your keyboard. So when I do dead for a survivor perk, I see dead hard and deadline, which is accurate. If I do killer, I'll see dead ban switch and deadlock. Now, what if I want, say, to add all at once? What if I want to add, let's say, pain resonance and dead ban switch? So let's do dead man, and if we put a comma, we can enter a secondary search that'll apply universally to this. So now I can do pain reso, and you'll see dead man switch and scourge hook pain resonance. What if I want scourge hooks and hexes? So I'll do scourge, if I can spell, and then hex. And now I get every scourge hook perk and every hex perk. It's, and what you'll notice here is you see how these two have the icons here? If I select these will guaranteed show up at the top with the icons next time I search, no matter what I search. So the way this works is you can use this to kind of stack balancing, right? So you can search for a couple of things. So let's say I want to ban a couple of perks. So let's say I do dead man, I select it, I do pain resonance, we'll select these two. And so you see how I'm stacking these. We'll do eruption, I can select these, deadlock, and now I have 4 perks that I've selected off of 4 separate searches. Now, obviously, you can use comma selection to do this, but this is designed so that you can select these, and if you forget to search something up, select all the perks you need, and then search it, and they'll all spawn at the top with their images associated. So you know which ones were in the previous search. That's pretty much the search menu. You can control click, you can drag, you can select multiple. Most things in here you can select multiple elements. And if you can't, you can try it and it'll restrict you. That's basically the perk search info bar. It's fairly powerful, but it's also what you're going to be using quite often to create balancing, because that's the entire point of it. And the idea is that if you can utilize the multiple search function and the ability to like stack up per search, like stack up perk search results, select a couple, and then stack some more, you can get through balancing pretty quickly once you get the gist of things. So next up, the way the balancing works in here, on the left-hand column here, is it's separated into 2 things. Tiered balancing and killer override balancing. So tier balancing, we'll start with, is basically, think of them like little pockets you can assign to the killer, like the individual killers. So there's a general tier of balancing that's kind of created by default for you. And this tier of balancing that's created is just like, it's automatically applied to everybody. So I have the trapper selected here for this balancing, and you can see general is already applied. It's already there. And you can remove it if you'd like, if you don't want a killer to be affected by general balancing or whatnot, but it's there because this is the type of thing most leagues have. Most leagues will have a general set of perks and combined perks that are banned and can't be used across any killer in the game. So that's why that's by default spawned. But basically, general balancing are like, you can select a tier and you can add perks to ban. So let's say these are survivor individual perk bans. So these are individual perks that are banned for survivors. So I'll go up here and I'll select is survivor perk. And let's say, for example, we want to ban Blood Rush and all of the boons. So Blood Rush, and then I control click and I drag all the way down all the boons. And I can click the add perks button right here. So when I click add perks, you'll see all of the perks I have selected will populate over here individually. And these are all going to be organized in alphabetical order every single time. They will never falter. If I enter balanced landing, for example, it's going to appear at the top right there. So these are going to be always in alphabetical order. So if you lose track of things, you can always just base it off of the alphabet and you're fine. So that's how that works. basically, then you can take these tiers and these perk bands and such, and you can apply them to whatever killers you want en masse. So, for example, let's say I create a tier. Let's say I want to create a bronze tier. I can add this tier, and once I click add tier in this dropdown, we'll see the new tier I've just created, bronze. I can click here, and now it'll load this tier. It's empty because I've just created it. So let's add a couple of things. If it's bronze, let's ban a couple of exhaustions, right? Let's ban sprint. I'll use comma to separate it. We'll do live, smash hit. What else? Balanced, and then maybe we'll do overcome. So background player, balanced, live, overcome, smash hit, and sprint burst. So we'll select all of these. And now we will go into here and we'll hit this. So you'll notice background player was something I had selected in the previous search, which is why the image shows up there. And the rest of these were the search results from this search I just did. So background player, balanced landing, live, overcome, smash hit, sprint burst. So we're going to ban some exhaustions here on the tiered balancing. Perfect. So then on the killer side, let's say if you want to ban a couple of things for them. So hitting enter here will actually just, like if it's a blank search bar, it'll put all of the perks in alphabetical order here. That's just part of it. So let's say in particular, fuck Scourge hooks, and let's put Scourge hooks in here. You have every Scourge hook in the game, just write in the individual bands, and so let's say that's our tier, for example. Then in the killer balancing field down here, you can modify which tiers per killer and per survivor there are. So you can change it per role, which roles are affected by what tier. So I want survivors to experience the gen bands and the bronze bands, but I want the killer to only see the general. So you can select both of these, hit confirm, and then I can select general and hit confirm. So what you'll notice is these are now highlighted in gray. If I select a different killer, let's say, you see these are only general, but if I go back to Trapper, you'll see the survivors are general and bronze, and the killer is just general, like I selected before. So that's how that works. I'll show you how the combined band system works as well. So combined bands, you can only select a maximum of 4. So if I try to add these, it won't work. It won't work because it's more than 4. You can't equip more than 4 perks in the game anyways. So this is if these 2 perks are in combination equipped on the same loadout. So like for example, for the survivor, if the same survivor equips, let's say Dead Hard and Overcome. So let's ban that real quick. So let's do Dead Hard, Overcome, and let's select both of these. So whatever you have selected here will be added in here. So now if a survivor loadout, any particular survivor has Dead Hard and Overcome equipped on the same perk build, that will be considered illegal. So that's part of that ban. So any combined perks, stuff like that. So Dead Hard, Overcome, or on the killer end, let's say Dead Man's and Grim Embrace, right? So Dead Man's Switch, Grim Embrace, you can add that. And now if a killer on their killer build equips Dead Man's Switch and Grim Embrace together in the same build, then that's banned. But if they equip Dead Man's Switch or Grim Embrace separately, like just one or the other, that's not banned. That's fine. So that's kind of how that works. Combined refers to all of the perks in the combined entry have to be present in that build. Individual just means the perk has to be present for it to count as banned. That's how tiers work. That's how the perk ban system works. It's honestly, it's pretty simple once you get the hang of it. And it's a fairly versatile system. So next is the spot where a lot of people, you'd spend a lot of your time. This is the killer override area, which is the vast majority of the balance creator. And this is a fairly important section with a lot of unique areas. So we'll go top to bottom. First off is this drop down, as I showed earlier. This signifies which killer you have selected. So you can select any killer in the roster here. and it will load their add-ons as well down here. So you can select any killer from here, and this will tell the balance creator which killer you're trying to target here. Next is this checkbox. This checkbox is fairly unused, to be honest, because comp didn't... I started making this tool around when the anti-face camp was added. So this tool was in development at the time, and I added it just in case some leagues were experimenting and being like, should I allow the anti-face camp stuff here? So in case any leagues just were experimenting with that, it is a setting. And if I do find in competitive leagues that this is the type of thing that people are experimenting with, then sure, I can add that to the balance checker, no problem. And the second checkbox is killer disabled. So this represents whether or not you can actually... so let's say a killer is disabled, for example. So let's say I go to the Wraith, and we disable the Wraith. When I select the Wraith in the balance checker tool, it will give me a pop-up telling me, hey, this killer's disabled. You can still modify the build. That's no problem. You can still create builds for them. But just know the balancing is either A, non-existent, B, not accurate, or C, totally illegal, and you can't use that in an actual setting, like competitive play setting or a tournament. So that's why that's there. Because, for example, Dead by Daylight League did their seasonals recently, and they had a lot of killers missing from the roster. So adding a killer disabled functionality to just say, hey, listen, this killer doesn't exist in the roster. So you can't actually play them in a tournament, but you can still make a build for it, is kind of the idea behind that. So it's a simple checkbox, and it just tells you whether or not the killer is disabled. Map is which maps the killer is available from. This search bar works the exact same as the perk search bar up here. So you can search for whatever you want, and it automatically updates. You can do coal, and then we'll do dead dog, and we'll do all of the second variations of the Macmillan maps. I guess alongside the Addon Preschool 3, because there's 2 eyes in there. But yeah, so basically you can use multiple search inquiries to get maps. You can select multiple things, and once you hit confirm, you'll see it's grayed in all of the entries you select, and that signifies which maps are selected. And when you select this, obviously it'll take over. So it's a good idea just to kind of be careful around that and make sure when you select it, you hit control while you select it just to make sure it doesn't overwrite anything. But even then, nothing is confirmed until you hit that confirm button. So let's say, for example, I have these confirmed, but I click on it and oops, I just erased all that. I didn't mean to change that. You can just literally do this and bam, your selections are back. Yeah, so you'll see Batum, Coal Tower, Ironworks, Cepho Pit too. So that's one way to get around the selections. And that's the map select, really. You select whatever maps the killer is acceptable on, and there's a little maps panel in the balance checker that will inform the user that, hey, these are the maps that are listed here. There's no way to know which of the like maps should be selected. So check in with the balancing league to make sure, but these are like of the couple maps that you might be playing on. And of course, we'll get into it later, but there's a killer specific notes feature where leagues can actually, they can totally use that to signify where a killer should go depending on certain conditions in terms of like map or realm. So that's kind of the maps feature. That's kind of why that's there. Next is the add-ons area. So this is kind of a 3-column layout. The left one are checkboxes to just straight up ban entire tiers of add-ons. So if I want to ban common, you'll see all of the like common add-ons disappear. And now we've only got these ones. So this means any common add-ons are banned. Or uncommon, you'll see it goes immediately from common to rare. Or if I want to ban iridescence, you'll see there's no iridescence there, and now there are. So this is just a way to ban just straight up tiers of add-ons. Otherwise, this is a little drop-down menu. It functions the same way as literally every other drop-down on the site. You can select them, And once I hit confirm, you'll notice them go to the third column, which is the confirmed add-ons ban dropdown. So this tells you which add-ons are banned in particular. So you'll see I've selected all 4 of those, and then I moved them over here. So now these guys are the banned add-ons. Or I can select Trapper Bag, and I can select Coffee Grounds, and that's kind of how that works. And if you want to remove them, you just select them and you hit remove, and bam, clears them out. Very simple way to navigate that. And obviously, if you're worried about tiers, then it's colored based on tiers. Super simple menu. I don't think there's too much to go off of there. Hit control click to click multiple things, just like any other drop down. This one might be one of the more complicated areas, and that is the item section. So this is the item whitelist area, these 3 columns. The left column is for selecting which item type this is for. Item whitelist will show you the items in there, and then item add-on whitelist will show you the add-ons for the specific item type. So for example, if I select a flashlight, it's going to show me every flashlight in the game in the middle column here. And then over here, it's going to show me every flashlight add-on. So watch. When I select this, I select flashlight, and it populates. You have every flashlight in the game, and then every flashlight add-on in the game. If I select medkit add-ons, every medkit. You'll see that here. Key, you'll see every key, and you'll see all the key add-ons. Map, same thing. This is exactly how this works. And here's where you can ban the item add-ons and ban the like specific items. So let's say I only want you guys to take Ranger medkits, and remember, this is a whitelist, right? This is not a ban list, this is a whitelist. So I want you only to take Ranger medkits, and I only want you guys to take, let's say, gel dressings and gauze rolls. If I hit confirm here, you'll see it's confirmed when they're grayed out like that, and then I can hit confirm here to make sure I'm confirmed here. So now, when I leave here and I go back here, you'll notice Ranger medkit, gauze roll, gel dressings. So those are going to be the permitted items and add-ons. And you can do this for any of these. So let's say I want you to only take this, and you can select between any of your favorite common add-ons, confirm those. You know, as flashlight, and the common add-ons whitelist. I want you to take a firecracker, fine, do it. And you'll notice, yep, that's there. Basically, all the items will start out as banned, and you have to add them to the whitelist as you go. That's kind of how that works. It looks a little confusing, but it makes a little bit of sense after a while. Super simple as well. Perk tiers area, we kind of went over briefly. To show this off in a little bit more detail, I'm going to create a couple of tiers. So let's say bronze, silver, gold, and iridescent. Let's say, yeah. All right, cool. So when I go through here, you'll notice down here we have all of our tiers: general, bronze, silver, gold, iridescent. So let's select back just to see which ones we have selected. Okay, cool. So you notice here, killer perk tiers. This will represent which tiers the killer in particular that we have selected, in this case the trapper, is going to be affected by. So which tiers apply to this killer? Because a trapper is definitely not an iridescent balancing, you know? So let's say we want a trapper to be affected by bronze balancing. We can confirm that. And then let's say survivors we want affected by a different tier or multiple tiers, general, bronze, and silver. You can do that. That's not a problem. You don't want them to be affected by general. You just unselect it with by control clicking to toggle, and then you can confirm. Super simple. And all this does is just represent which tiers in particular survivors and killers are affected by when going against or playing as the selected killer up here. That's it. Next are the permitted offerings per role. Again, similarly to items, this is a whitelist. Everything starts out as banned, and you have to select them. So let's say for killer, these are the offerings that the killer is permitted to bring. So you can select multiple if you'd like, or you can select just one, or you can select none. does not matter. We'll say I want the killer to select cut coin, which is pretty standard. And then we'll do for survivor, we'll say bloody blueprint, annotated, Vigo shroud, and shroud of binding. I can confirm that. So that is basically how that works. That means in the balance checker, all of these are going to be whitelisted for me to use on either role, and they can be selected without producing an error. Selecting anything that's unselected will produce an offering error, and the balance checker will tell you what happened. So that's how that works. Next is the killer specific notes section that I slightly dabbled on here. Essentially, this section is for any notes in particular to the killer. So for example, since Balanced by Daylight doesn't have support for combined add-on bans and only individuals, you could say, for example, if you run a Trapper Sack. So let's say if you run Trapper Sack and Iridescent Stone, that is... Okay, let's word this differently. Let's say Trapper Sack and Iridescent Stone being equipped simultaneously is banned. And you can do something like that. So you can use this as a way to specify specific notes pertaining to the killer. Or you could say, you know, like literally anything. This is specific to the killer, and used for leagues to modify ways that killer is meant to either be played or has like specific add-on restrictions or anything like that. Literally anything. It's there for any limitations the balance creator has, where the creator can't check it. So notes are there for leagues to be able to manage and be like, hey, listen, this is something I can't put in the system, but I can at least tell you here, you know, in just plain words. So, perfect. Next, this is very similar to the tier system, but we got a couple more options. So you'll notice in tiers up here, we have individual perk bans for survivor, combined for survivor, individual perk bans for killer, and combined for killer. Down here, we have another set of 4 options. These are whitelist options. Whitelists take precedence over anything else. So these function exactly the same as tiers, but in the sense that these are specifically for a killer in, like, just a killer in specific. However, these whitelists, they are per killer. They are killer specific because they're in the killer balancing menu. However, if a tier has them banned, so let's say here we have balanced landing banned on iridescent, or in the general tier of balancing. So let's say we have balanced landing banned general tier, but let's say on Trapper, fuck Trapper. You know, let's whitelist this. So we take balanced landing, we select it, and we can add that to the perk whitelist. And suddenly, balanced landing is no longer banned as long as you're going against Trapper. So these add whitelists for every type of perk, combined or not, for either role. So something that a lot of leagues, such as Outrun the Fog, did when Skull Merchant was pre-rework, was adding a clause saying, hey, normally general ban is potential energy, but if you're going against like OG Skull Merchant, you can equip potential energy, no problem. We're adding that to the whitelist. That is the type of thing that this is meant to support. This is meant to support cases where a perk is so powerful it should be generally banned, but against any particular killer or something where that perk actually makes the game fairer, you can do that. That's what that's there for. Alright, so let's say you've done all of this and you're proud of your balancing. What do you do, right? How do you get this from this page over to something like the checker? So first off, let's create a little title. So let's say our balancing, and this will be the title that shows on the actual balance checker. It'll show and tell you exactly which balancing this is. Next, we can hit the export button. So this export button will convert it to a format known as JSON, JSON. It stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Basically, it's a human-readable way for a computer to like read this and be like, oh, I know what this is. This is how we communicate the balancing. So if I select all of this, So I'm just highlighting this, Control A to select everything, and Control C to copy it. And let's go back. So that's exported, and I'll show you how to apply this. If we go to the balance checker right now, if I go into the settings menu and select custom balancing, I can do this, Control V to paste it. We can do this. So now we see our balancing, as we named it up here, and we're going against Edmund McMillan. So now you'll notice balanced landing is not banned on this guy, but if I switch to Wraith, balanced landing is banned in general tier. If I switch roles and I go here, you'll notice no add-on bans. However, offerings only cut coin. Perks, you'll notice I have all the Scourge hooks banned, for example. If I go to Survivor, you'll notice some of the stuff I've banned is like the background player, Overcome, stuff like that. If I select any of that, that's kind of how that works. Items, you'll notice medkit, and you're going to be forced to run these two add-ons, right? Can't select duplicate add-ons. It'll tell you otherwise. You can only equip a firecracker and then a flashlight. You know what I mean? So it lets you do that. We set the max perk repetition. So let's say we equip balance and then can't equip it again because it's repeated one time in the survivor builds. So that's generally how the balancing will appear. You'll notice in the killer notes, which you can find on the information tab, you'll find killer notes and you'll find global notes. And then maps, you'll see them here, where it's note that different maps may have different conditions. Consult official balancing for more information. And let's say you want to modify this. So we're back in the creator now. Let's paste our balancing that we had before. This is the one we made. Once I hit import, it auto-populates literally everything we did, right back to where we left off, including like whitelists, offerings, tiers, everything. So everything will be thrown right back where you left it, and you can modify it and then re-export it when you're done. So let's say we want to disable Trapper. Let's export it. Let's go back to check, and let's do this. Killer disabled. Killer the Trapper is disabled in current balancing. You may still select this killer, but they may be ineligible to play in official matches. So now Evan McMillan is disabled, unfortunately. Rip our goat. But yeah, so that is literally the balance creator. Basically, pretty in depth. Little longer, but I wanted to make sure it was in detail. Of course, the Balance by Daylight Discord server, I check it pretty frequently. So if there's anybody who has any questions or anything, please feel free to reach out. If you feel like you'd like to contribute to the project, there is the GitHub page, and then also direct message me. Let me know what your idea is or what you want to improve, stuff like that. And then obviously, if you have any questions about how the auto balancing or hosting works, we will have a resource up for that on the Discord server, and that in essence is everything. All right, have a great night or day wherever you are right now.